Coming up on the show, the world's busiest airport never stops, but some paychecks just did. We're going to show you how the government shutdown is shaking up the skies, both for workers and travelers. Also, imagine a world where artificial intelligence helps save children's lives, not just predict the winner of football games or just write code. We'll show you how a major federal boost could change the future for childhood cancer care. And they're trading in the tennis balls for pool noodles at Piedmont Park this weekend. Wait till you see the splash our four-legged friends are making and the cause behind all that wagging. This is The Take. Let's get it. Well, hello and welcome. I'm Chesley McNeil, and this is The Take, where we go above and beyond the headlines and we look at the why and how stories are impacting you and your community. We invite the experts in to share their take on today's top stories as well, and we try to have just a little bit of fun. But let's start you off right here. You see the U.S. Capitol right there now, where senators will be back in session after a break for Yom Kippur. They'll be reconvening for a vote on the spending bill. The big hangup is still over health care subsidies that Democrats want to extend. Now, hundreds of thousands of federal workers have already been furloughed, but mass firings could begin as soon as today. President Trump also announced on Thursday that he would be meeting with his budget director to consider which, quote, Democrat agencies would be cut. And while millions of Americans are still feeling the effects of this shutdown in real time, lawmakers from all sides, or both sides, are digging in, pointing fingers, and positioning for political advantage. Let's break this down and find out what's really all the infighting is, what it's all about, and what this could mean and how long these standoffs could last. Here joining us now is Zachary Peskowitz. He's the professor of political economics over at Emory University. Thanks for joining us so much today, Zach.
Thank you for having me.
All right, at its core, what is really driving the shutdown?
Yeah, so with all these shutdowns are kind of trying to achieve policy objectives by letting funding lapse and try to force your opponent to compromise on policy through the pain of a government shutdown, trying to get them to change their positions. And this one in particular is about these expanded, enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies that are set to expire at the end of the year.
Do you think shutdowns like this would change the long-term balance between power of Congress and the White House?
We don't know at this point. I think it'll be very important to see really next week, once we start getting some public opinion polling data on who voters are blaming for the shutdown, how uncomfortable are they with it, and whether that gets one side to compromise and change their positions.
All right. Are we seeing a return to a kind of brinkmanship that defines Washington a decade ago, or has this become something different under today's new leadership?
Yeah, so we've had these shutdowns periodically, really since the 1990s. So they happen when there are profound policy disputes between some members of Congress and the president. So we had it in the Clinton administration with Newt Gingrich and Republican majorities in the House. We had it in the first Trump administration between Trump and Democrats in the House and the Senate. And this time we're having it between Trump and the Democrats, particularly in the Senate, who would be necessary to break the filibuster and pass spending legislation to fund the government.
Yeah. Let's look at the parties for a minute here. For the Republicans, how much of this is a standoff is about internal power struggles between fiscal conservatives and pragmatic voices?
Yes. So, I think Democrats see a potential opportunity here that there might be some division within the Republican Party on these enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies. So, you have kind of traditional fiscal conservatives who want to keep spending down and don't want to spend this money to expand subsidies. And then you have kind of more populist Republicans who are more supportive of the welfare state and expanded social welfare spending. People like Josh Hawley from Missouri, J.D. Vance to some extent, and then Trump to some extent. So I think Democrats potentially see this opportunity to drive a wedge between the Republican coalition, and we'll see if that happens in the next few days.
So more on the Democratic side, how much of this do you see as a fracture forming of how far to push back, especially with the subsidies at front and center?
Yeah, it's great question. So, there are a lot of progressive, more liberal Democrats in March earlier this year who really wanted the Democrats to shut down the government when there was a similar funding was about to end similarly. And now the House and Senate leadership has gone down this path to try and use a shutdown to secure these enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies.
Do you think there's a risk of frequent? We keep having these frequent shutdowns, that it normalizes this kind of crisis amongst politics?
Yes, I mean they do happen when there's divided government, or where there's at least not enough of the president's party in the Senate to pass spending legislation because of the filibuster. So they don't happen all the time, but they are happening periodically every 5-10 years or so, and they can be quite disruptive. So hundreds of thousands of workers furloughed, and then some important government services not happening. So we'll see how the public reacts in the next few days, and that's going to be really key to understanding this going forward.
Yep. For everyday watching Americans, right, seeing this unfold, what's the lesson about how politics now function or doesn't in Washington? Yeah,
so there is profound polarization between the Democratic and Republican parties in the executive branch and in Congress, and we have some supermajoritarian rules. So you need a lot of you need 60 votes to break a filibuster in the Senate, and a lot of policy issues you need agreement between the president and Congress. So when you have those polarization and those kinds of rules, then this can happen, and you don't it's the government is unable to secure funding and continue operating.
Yeah, Professor Professowitz, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate your insight on this matter. Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, folks, let's take a look at the 7-day outlook for today. And not bad at all. We're looking at sunny skies for today. Started out on the cool side, if you will. Chilly up to the far north. We had the 40s up there. We'll get up to 79 degrees for the afternoon high. You will notice some clouds moving into the forecast area. Not going to take away too much from our sunshine today, but by tomorrow, in fact, over the weekend, mostly cloudy skies. It will be a great weekend for us, but only a small threat for rain. 20% chance. That'll be late on Sunday. And then we'll hold on to that small threat as we begin the work week next week. In fact, we'll hold on to it. 20 to 30% chance really all week long. Hey, don't go anywhere, folks. You are watching The Take, and we're back right after this. All right, let's head back to Washington, D.C. and bring in NBC's Bianca Ficini. Senators, Bianca, are expected to vote once again, but it doesn't look hopeful. Are there any cracks on either of the defenses to break through?
Hey, Chesley, good morning. So far, no. Neither party really looks like it's going to or willing to budge. The Senate will vote this afternoon, but no one is expecting the measures to pass to reopen the government. I think most people are expecting some sort of extension, so both sides have a little bit more time to hash out a deal, but it doesn't look like we'll see any concessions just yet. So most people are anticipating that the shutdown will at least last until next week.
Okay. All right. So we saw the president. He met with the heads of Office of Management and Budget to see if there was any programs or recommendations that he could cut. How serious is he about making these cuts, or is it just kind of a smokescreen, you think?
Well, I think based on how many cuts he's already made, everyone here in Washington is taking him seriously when he says he will make more cuts if he can. Operative word being if there. I mean, some people are questioning, for example, if the president can actually fire people during a shutdown versus a furlough. But I do think a lot of this will depend on how long the shutdown lasts for, especially given neither side wants to make a concession. But I think most Democrats are assuming that pretty much anything that they support is on the table, because we have seen President Trump specifically say, I want to go after the, quote, Democrat agencies. Has he been specific about everything he means that, qualifies as a Democrat agency? No, but if this shutdown continues for a long time, those cuts could spread to several different programs or agencies that the Democrats have supported.
Bianca, the big sticking point for Democrats seems to be health care. And to that end, we got some new comments from Republican leaders in the Senate, right?
Right. So healthcare does remain the sticking point for Democrats here. But the GOP Senate leader, Senator John Thune, essentially said he's not budging. He did say that the GOP will talk about healthcare with the Democrats after the government reopens. But of course, that's not what the Democrats want to hear. They want to talk about it now and don't want to, have to deal with promises later on. So Things are very much still at a standstill. No one is expecting this to end today, but it will be interesting to see what senators have to say today after the vote this afternoon to see if any of the very initial talks that some of the senators were having on the floor 2 days ago have made any progress, or if they're just going into this weekend saying, nope, we're still stuck in the same spot and we are not expecting this to end anytime soon.
Yeah, maybe the voices will start to get a little louder. We know that last time this took place under President Trump, as people started to get a little unrest, he decided to end things. And so we'll see if that will be the case this time around. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because the last shutdown, like you said, was during President Trump's first term. So this is the first shutdown in almost 7 years. But I think one thing that people should consider is that historically, most of these shutdowns have not had a significant impact on the economy. Even if there has been some sort of cost, it typically is made up once the government reopens and, people go back to work and everything recovers. But this is the first, post-COVID economy shutdown. The labor market has shown some signs of softening recently. So for a lot of the federal workers that are either furloughed or potentially laid off, that could cause different challenges this time. So I think the Trump administration and Republicans might be relying on the fact that it might not cost too much economically, but it's also slightly different this time. So that also, of course, depends on how long the shutdown lasts, but it will be interesting to see how those things develop.
All right, Bianca Ficini, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it and have a great weekend. All right, coming up on the show, we're going to take a look at how the government shutdown will impact your travel plans. That's right after the break. Stay right there. You're taking a look now at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, where the ripple effect of the federal government shutdown could soon reach travelers. TSA officers, air traffic controllers, and other critical staff are still on the job, but they're doing it without pay. And that's raising some concerns about how long the lines could be, flight delays, and overall a strain on the travel system. Let's talk about what this could mean for air travel and the millions of passengers that pass through right here in Atlanta each week. Let's bring in Tucker Balch. He is the Emory Professor in the practice of research and finance. Tucker, welcome to the show.
Thanks, glad to be here.
All right. How is this government shutdown already affecting air travel, and how quickly could the impact grow if it lingers on?
So my wife, just yesterday, she flew from Atlanta to Las Vegas, first day of the shutdown. She noticed no impact. And the reason for that is that the TSA employees, air traffic control, and so on, all of those folks are considered essential, and they have to stay, even though they're not getting paid right now. Now, that beautiful situation may not last so long. The longer the shutdown lasts, the more we're going to see sort of cracks in that infrastructure.
Yeah, we talk about the shutdown as a political standoff, but for these workers, it's a paycheck-to-paycheck kind of crisis here. How does that instability affect morale, right? You talk about the longer it goes on. You just mentioned that the longer it goes on, it could turn into something else, could turn into a safety or service for travelers, right? Could be a problem there.
Yes, and let's not diminish, the impact on these folks. They're not the highest paid jobs in the world, especially TSA, and it is important that they have that income. Anyways, the last shutdown, we saw that as it lingered, as it drew on longer and longer, some of these folks, TSA and air traffic control, began to call in sick. Mm-hmm. In fact, there was one day in the last shutdown that 10 controllers all called in sick at the same time in Virginia and Florida, and it caused kind of a massive disruption in air traffic in the southeast United States. Mm-hmm. So the longer it goes on, the more we risk those sorts of disruptions.
Do you think there's a certain point that starts to happen? Would you say it's a 2-week, a 3-week? I know I don't want you to speculate, but at what point would we start to feel that, you think?
One thing to know about is paychecks, at least for TSA, come out every 2 weeks. The last one, I believe, was day before yesterday, probably September 30. anyways, their next paycheck is in 2 weeks, so they're okay for now. But if they don't get that paycheck in 2 weeks, I think that's when things will begin to. Crumble is too strong of a word, but that's when the uncomfortableness will begin.
When do we start to see travelers begin to shift their behavior? Is it after something like you described the last time in Virginia and Florida? Once they see that, do they start shifting maybe their vacations, skipping, going away, and just staying at home? How does that take place?
Very good point. Very good question. If I were planning a trip to somewhere in the United States, the national parks are not considered essential. The attractions, I don't know if that's the right word, but the places people go in Washington, D.C., those are going to be open until Monday, but after that, those will be shut down. So a lot of the things that people like to do in terms of a vacation in the United States are going to be toned down. So we don't see that impact yet. Right now we're not in the middle of vacation time. If this were happening at the beginning of the summer, I think we'd see a much bigger impact. But as it is right now, I don't think we'll know for a while. It'll be interesting to see what happens, especially around what people plan to do for Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
We'll have to see what happens.
And most people are probably trying to make those plans now. I guess the longer this goes on, people may start pulling back. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm beginning to plan my own Thanksgiving travel, and I don't think the shutdown is going to last that long, but I'm not going to plan on visiting a national park, for instance, over Thanksgiving.
Gotcha. Tucker Balch, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for your insight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to have a check on GDOT and get the latest on the construction that could slow you down this weekend. You want to stay tuned for this. Welcome back to the show. If you ever found yourself stuck on the west side perimeter, you may be thinking you could knit a sweater before traffic moves, right? Well, there could be some help on the way. GDOT's rolling out plans for new express lanes that promise to put express back into driving. And next week, you'll have a chance to voice your opinion on the project. I know a lot of you have a lot to say. Time to bring in GDOT's Communication Program Manager, Kyle Collins, to share what we can expect. And Kyle, let's start with the need, right? Why are the lanes needed?
Yeah, well, just given the growth in Metro Atlanta, period, most specifically the West Side, you have one of the largest warehousing areas in the eastern United States there on Fulton Industrial Boulevard. The need is there. You just talked about folks having time to knit a sweater. Nothing against that activity, but hopefully with more reliable commute times we're bringing with the express lanes, folks won't have to worry about thinking that way when they're traveling north or south in that 10-mile area.
Yeah. For drivers stuck in the daily gridlock, how much time could this really save them?
Well, we're thinking generally we're seeing gains with the reliable trip times. Once you enter that managed lane, express lane system, is typically going to be between 20 and 30% during the peak time. Sometimes you're going to see additional gains, but also we're not taking away any general purpose lanes with any of the express lanes proposals you've seen on 285 or 400. So folks typically see less times during the peak commutes in the general purpose lanes as well once express lanes are brought into service.
Yeah. Kyle, what makes the West Side stretch unique compared to other I-285 express lane projects?
So the footprint of what we're doing is part of a larger managed express lanes network we're hoping to do in the entirety of 285 from 20 to 20 on the east and west side. You've got various sections that are in various phases of procurement and project delivery. So this is just another phase that we're doing. This one goes from Mount Wilkinson Parkway, just south of 75 and that Paces Ferry area, to just south of the I-20 interchange, which, as we discussed on this show, we're also working on. So we've already got barrels at the interchange, and in the coming years with the express lanes, there will be more with these improvements, but it's part of a larger commitment for safety, also for transit. These are transit benefited lanes through the BRT or express lanes transit. Also registered van pools, emergency vehicles will be able to use these to get where they need to go in a reliable fashion and much faster day to day.
Yeah. Where are we in the process for the project right now?
So still in the environmental process. That's why we're coming back to the public with this public information open house period. Kicked off a week or two ago, and it's running through October 20th. So we're presenting the latest plans that we have. We're trying to get to what we consider a preferred alternative design concept. And what we're showing now that the folks will see, whether they visit the website or see us in person on the 7th and 8th next week, is 2 barrier separated, generally elevated express lanes that would be to the side of the general purpose lanes. There'll be at times where it will dip down a little bit lower and be closer to more what you're used to or at grade. But that's kind of where we're at, and we're just hoping to get the comments, positive, negative, to help inform and get us further down the road to getting environmental approval and actually getting this project out on the street.
You have a timeline right now of when you may have it complete?
So we've got the double asterisk, if you will, on actual construction start. We're not 100% on when that would begin, but as far as environmental approvals, we're hoping to have all that documentation done in the 2027 timeframe. So we're here towards the latter part of 2025, and this is just helping us to continue to get the feedback from the public. We want to show you what we have, but we also want to know your areas of interest so we can continue to refine and mitigate any impacts that these lanes may cause.
You mentioned it, I think you said Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, but when can commuters weigh in, and how do they get engaged in the project?
Yeah, so those will be in-person opportunities, one in Smyrna and one right there at the Aviation Museum on South Fulton area by the Fulton County Airport the following day on the 8th. Those are both from 5 to 7 p.m. But we have a standing website, a virtual meeting room that has all those same materials. You can download them at your leisure, check them out anytime. You can comment there, do a quick survey through October 20th. So we just need to hear from you. By the 20th, this is by no means the last time you'll be able to comment on the Westside Express Lanes, but this is just our current process, and we hope to see you or hear from you online.
All right, Kyle Collins, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate that. And I'm sure folks will have a lot to say about it. So GDOT has 2, as Kyle said, 2 public information open houses lined up for you to talk about this project. The first one is Tuesday from 5 to 7. That's going to be at the Vinings Church on Atlanta Road in Smyrna. And the second will be on Wednesday, the following day, also from 5 to 7. That's going to be at the Aviation Museum and Conference Center on Aviation Circle. So make sure you check that out, okay? And weigh in. They're giving you a chance to say something, folks, so now you have a chance to express yourself. All right, AI could play a role in research to help fight a disease that has a major impact on children. But first, coming up after the break, Zach Merchant's going to join us now next with a check on the Georgia vote, what's coming up on that show. Stay with us, folks. We're back right after this. All right, he started this year as a Republican, but made that seismic shift across the aisle. Now he's telling us why he's running to be Georgia's next governor as a Democrat. Here now on the show is the co-host of Georgia Vote, Zach Merchant. Always joins us on a Friday. Good to see you, my friend. You all right?
Chesley, it is always good to join you guys on a Friday morning. It means we made it to the end of the week, and I get to hang out with you. It is always a good time.
Oh, man, don't make me blush. All right, you sat down with Jeff Duncan, and he's taking an unorthodox path. Tell us what he had to say.
Yeah, very unorthodox path and a high-profile path. You mentioned right off the top, Jeff Duncan. He is running for governor now. He is running for governor as a Democrat. He, until recently, was not a Democrat, at least officially. He spent the bulk of his political life as a Republican and in high-profile roles in Georgia. Most recently, he was Georgia's lieutenant governor. He was a Republican in that role, and he staked out a lot of conservative positions in that role. But after the 2020 election and the criticism and the challenges from some conservatives of Georgia's presidential election results, including most prominently from President Donald Trump, Duncan began to drift from the Republican Party. It was a slow drift, but a consistent drift. This past summer, I guess 2 summers ago now, the summer of 2024, he actually attended the Democratic National Convention. He endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris for president. He spoke at that DNC. And then more recently, he made his switch to the Democratic Party official. Now he's running. But it has been an odyssey over these last few years.
Did he tell you what ultimately made him go across the aisle?
He said it was a lot of things, and he's trying to couch his election bid here in terms of electability, too. That was a big theme that came to him. As far as why he wanted to switch, he kept coming back to this idea of, he said it was hard for him as a Republican to love his neighbor. That's something he said in an op-ed in the AJC. He said it to us as well. Some Republicans I know have taken some issue with that framing of the Republican Party and its positions, but that's how Duncan saw things. He's in this race now. he does come with what some Democrats see as some baggage. You know, he had a lot of conservative positions for a long time in the public eye on things like guns and gun safety, things like abortion access. He was a proponent of Georgia's so-called heartbeat bill when he was in the state legislature and when he was leading the state Senate as lieutenant governor. That bill, now signed into law, bans most abortions after about 6 weeks of pregnancy. He said he regrets that. He said he got the issue of abortion wrong, but we drill into that. We talk about that in this interview coming up this Sunday, as well as a lot of his other conservative positions. He says he's looking to talk to Democratic voters and convince them that he is the real deal and he's the best choice in this primary.
Well, can't wait to hear more about that. But, you know, the biggest thing happening in politics right now is the federal shutdown that's taking place right now. Where do Georgia lawmakers stand on it?
They stand where a lot of lawmakers from all the other states also stand right now. There is a real division, a real gulf between most Republicans and most Democrats. The Democrats we spoke with, and we've spoken with a lot of them over the last 48, 72, however many hours it has now been since the shutdown, they're kind of all blurring together here a little bit. But they're pretty entrenched in their position. They blame Republicans for this shutdown. They say that this new spending bill, it needs to include more health care funding. They say it needs to include an extension of Affordable Care Act subsidies. They see this as a chance to undo some of the cuts made to health care spending in the so-called Big Beautiful Bill, the President Trump-backed Big Beautiful Bill that passed over the summer. Democrats want to unwind a lot of that stuff. Republicans, though, they say, hey, it's on the Democrats. They could reopen the government if they agreed to this spending bill. It's a GOP proposal that keeps the government on a short-term funding plan at roughly roughly its current levels of spending. There is a lot of finger pointing going on right now. At some point, they're going to have to get together and get a deal done, but right now, still a big gulf between these two positions.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, my friend.
Ches, I always appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. We'll look forward to seeing you on the show. All right. And you can watch the Georgia Vote with Zach Merchant and Faith Jesse Sunday morning at 11 o'clock right here on 11Alive Plus. Can't wait to see it and can't wait to hear more. All right. Childhood cancer remains a leading cause of disease-related death amongst kids in America. And now the federal government is doubling down its investment in research using artificial intelligence to speed up new treatments and some cures as well. Let's take a closer look at this now, and we're going to bring in Anat Matabuchi, the executive director of Emory's Empathetic AI for Health Institute. New sounding, right? Sounds high tech. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, how transformative could AI truly be in the fight against childhood cancer? Talk to us about it.
So great question. I think that the opportunity for artificial intelligence, particularly in pediatric cancers and childhood cancers, is tremendous. One thing that we should acknowledge is that traditionally there hasn't been as much investments for pediatric cancers. So this new announcement is really a big deal. And the reason I think it's a big deal is because artificial intelligence has a huge role to play in helping to really help identify those kids that may not have as aggressive a disease and therefore potentially reduce the aggressiveness of the treatment, because we know that these treatments like radiation, chemotherapy, can have long-term effects on these kids after they become adults. And so the power of artificial intelligence is in helping to identify those kids that could potentially benefit from less intense therapies to fight their cancers and yet provide them the appropriate outcome for those cancers, and yet spare them the long-term impacts of those treatments when they become adults.
Mm-hmm. What other kind of breakthroughs are possible when you combine AI with the data that we already have in hospitals across the country?
Great question. I think there's so much that is embedded in routinely available data, like electronic health records, like radiology scans, pathology images, where AI can really go in and mine for subtle patterns, subtle features, subtle attributes that humans may not be able to visually discern. And this can tell us so much about which kids are potentially likely to respond to certain treatments, which kids may have, like I said, less aggressive disease and therefore might benefit from less aggressive treatments. The other opportunity is for delineating the tumor extent or the disease extent on an imaging scan. For a human to go in and do this, to identify the target that is going to be treated with radiation or chemotherapy, is a time-consuming manual affair that takes a long time. AI could do this in seconds. And that's where there's a big, big opportunity to really speed up the workflow and improve outcomes for kids.
Do you think that AI would possibly be able to detect this earlier? Is that possible?
I think that's a great question. So some of the work that we're doing in our group has shown that we could potentially start to identify hallmarks of these disease years before they become manifest, before the actual diagnosis happens. And I think it sounds a little bit like science fiction, but I do think that these tools, these algorithms, these approaches can help start to identify years in advance that some of these diseases like cancers might manifest. A lot of the work that we've done in our lab has focused on adults, but I think there's a huge opportunity to use those approaches in kids as well.
Yeah. What are you most optimistic about when you look at this, when it comes to AI's role in this over the next decade?
Great question. I think the big opportunity for artificial intelligence is really around treatment selection. Let's face it, today, when it comes to cancer, we still don't have adequate tools. The physicians, the oncologists don't quite have the tools to help identify what is the right treatment for the right patient. And that's where I think artificial intelligence, through combing and combining information across our electronic health records, across imaging data, genomics, can start to come up with a much better profile of exactly which patients, which kids in this case, are going to truly benefit from certain treatment regimens. So I think the big opportunity going forward is using AI to match the right treatments for the right patients.
Okay. Anat Matabuchi, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Up next, folks, CNN's Maribel Aber is going to be talking to us about how our money matters. When we return, it's right after the break. You're watching The Take. We're back right after this. All right, welcome back. Tesla's latest sales report came with a little surprise boost. Yeah, CNN's Maribel Aber joins us now from the NASDAQ market site in New York. Good morning to you, Maribel. Looks like that boost came with a little help from rebates.
Yes, good morning, Chesley. Let's talk about it. Tesla set a record for its vehicle sales in the third quarter. The news briefly pushed Tesla stocks up and CEO Elon Musk's net worth to a new record yesterday. Musk momentarily had a net worth of more than $500 billion. Forbes reports that makes him the first person in modern history to top the $500 billion mark, all thanks to the company reportedly selling nearly 500,000 vehicles worldwide from July through September. American buyers rushed to buy Teslas before that $7,500 federal tax credit expired on Tuesday. It's a lot of zeros, Chesley.
Yeah, is it true that he could become the first trillionaire or something like that? Is that what they're saying?
Could be. We'll see.
Trillionaire. Can you believe that? Wow. All right, Snapchat is putting your saved snaps on diet, or are they making you pay extra for it?
A little bit more here, Chesley. Snapchat is asking its biggest users to pay a monthly fee to keep their memories. That's a feature the social media platform started in 2016, which allows people to save videos and photos as opposed to letting them disappear after a while. Since then, more than 1 trillion memories were saved, and now Snapchat's parent company says it needs a little financial help for its infrastructure. The company says users who have more than 5 gigabytes worth of memories will get charged. Analysts say Snapchat has about 460 million users per day. Chesley, though, how much memory do we really need? You know?
Yeah, really. Maribel, I didn't even know these guys were still around. Publishers Clearinghouse getting a shakeup with leadership. I didn't even know they still were around.
Oh, well, for good reason, Chesley. Bankrupt sweepstakes company, a Publishers Clearinghouse, is a new CEO, and he has a plan to protect the company's future prize winners. Past winners who won their life-changing prizes before July 15th of this year, still out of luck. But the new price protection program will be funded with investment-grade assets held in FDIC-insured escrow accounts and managed through a bank-run investment vehicle. The company says the program safeguards payments for large annuity prizes and reflects PCH's commitment to trust and accountability. Chesley, I just hope that the others invested well.
Yeah, right. I know they used to do this through magazines. I wonder how they do it now. Probably online stuff, right? Yeah, probably. All right, Krispy Kreme's latest flavor. Got a little bit of vanilla in there. You got some orange in there and a whole lot of Swifties.
Okay, because I had to look this up, Chesley, because it's not actually an orange flavor, it's the color. So what could make an album listening party better than donuts? Nothing, according to Krispy Kreme. The sweet treat maker is celebrating the release of Taylor Swift's 12th album, The Life of a Showgirl. Today only, you can get 12 of the original glazed donuts that have gone full orange in what the brand is calling a Spotlight dozen. So each box of 12 donuts includes 9 Spotlight orange original glazed donuts and 3 Spotlight swirl donuts. And Chesley, for those not fluent in Swiftie speak, Swift is in her orange era, okay? So like for the album Midnights, that was dark blue. For Lover, it was pastel pink, okay? And if you need more schooling, Chesley, you can take a course called A Swift History. It's offered at Brock University in Ontario.
Wow.
The professor is a Swiftie herself. She explores Swift's music as both pop culture and historical storytelling.
See,
Can you imagine?
I would think she would be more red for Travis Kelce, you know, the connection, you know, something like that. Maybe there's a little bit of orange in the Chiefs' outfits or something. I don't know.
We still bleed what? Green?
Yes.
It's green, right, Chesley?
Yes. Fly, Eagles, fly, baby. Yes, indeed. Well, thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
You too.
All right. Folks, dogs will be making a big splash this weekend, all for a good cause. We're going to talk about it right after the break. Stay right there. Well, it's not just the kids who get to make a big splash at the pool. This weekend, Piedmont Park is going to the dogs, literally, for the annual Splish Splash Doggy Bash. From big belly flops to tiny doggy paddles, it's all about fun in the sun and raising money to keep Atlanta's dog parks in tip-top shape. Let's talk more about this tradition and get some more insight on why all these tails will be wagging from Doug Widener, the president and CEO of the Piedmont Park Conservancy. Welcome to the show, Doug.
Thanks, Chesley. Glad to be here.
All right. Why has this become such a beloved tradition in Atlanta?
Well, you know, we've been doing this for the past 15 years, and the Conservancy does a variety of improvement projects around Atlanta's most visited park, including the beloved dog parks. And so we run the pool every year for our human friends until Labor Day, but every year in early October, before we close the pool down for good and drain it, we open it to our four-legged friends to enjoy some splashing and splishing. And all money goes to benefit our great off-leash dog parks, which are beloved, but from dog lovers far and wide in the park. So it's a great event, and it's one of our most popular throughout the year.
Yeah. How do you actually get the pool ready? I heard you say you drain it, and then what do? How do you treat it for the doggies?
Well, you know, so the pool is cleaned and ready to go from the last use at Labor Day, so we have it all cleaned and ready, scrubbed, and so the doggies come in and they do their thing, and then it gets a lot more hair in it than it had before. The filter gets filled, and then we drain the pool, clean the filters, and scrub it out and get ready for winter.
I can see how that would be the case. Are there lifeguards, or should we call them doggy guards? Are they on duty during the swim?
So we have staff on duty, and also we require that at least one pet guardian come for every 2 dogs.
You have one lifeguard or doggy guard, I guess, for every 2 dogs.
We have lifeguards, but then every dog owner or dog lover, there's one owner or guardian required for every two dogs that come. So if you bring more than 2, you've got to have two people there, because we all take responsibility in caring for our four-legged friends and make sure they're safe while they're splashing and enjoying the pool.
Yeah, and it sounds like a good time, right? Yeah, and you guys are raising money. It goes right back to the Piedmont Park's doggy parks. How important is this fundraiser for you guys to keep a nice, safe, and clean space?
It's really important. I mean, it takes the community to keep the park looking great. The Conservancy is the nonprofit champion of Atlanta's most visited park, but it takes all of us to keep the park looking great. And so every dollar raised goes right back into mulch, new benches, shade, water features, just keeping the dog park looking great every day. These are our most visited parts of the park, and so it takes a lot to keep all the poopy bags filled every day and everything looking great. And so this is a really important piece of helping us keep those parks looking great and improving them over time as well.
How do you get your dog involved? I'm sure there's people out there watching right now saying, hey, I want my dog to participate in something like that. How do they do that?
Yeah, so we have 4 sessions a day on Saturday and Sunday, starting at 9:30 and going till 2. Each session is an hour and 15 minutes, and you can register at piedmontpark.org/Splish Splash.
All right. And so say someone who may have lost their dog, but they still want to donate to the cause, how do they get involved?
They can go to piedmontpark.org and click on the donate button in the upper right, and they can just note where they want their donation to go, and that will go to the dog parks and all of our great dog programs here at the park.
Any memories, big memories from you said you've been doing this now for 14 years? Did I hear you say 14 years?
15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
What's your biggest memory from all of these?
Oh, well, I remember last year, it was such a beautiful weekend, and just the community, the dogs all get along so well, but a lot of the dog owners too that know each other from the dog parks and know each other from walking in the neighborhood and in the park. So just seeing the sense of community there, and it just warms your heart. So to see everyone just celebrating the creatures that bring us so much love and give us so much.
All right, I got 60 seconds left here. Tell me again the big takeaway that you want people to know about this particular event.
Yeah, so this is our largest fundraiser of the year for our dog activities in our off-leash dog parks. It's a great way for folks to get engaged and build a community. So we encourage everyone to come out. There's still slots available in all the slots. And again, you can find out more and buy tickets at piedmontpark.org/Splish Splash. That's a mouthful.
I like that. Splish Splash. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Thanks so much. I really appreciate you joining us, man.
Thanks, Chelsea. Have a great weekend.
All right. Once again, if you want to bring your pup, and this is happening tomorrow and Sunday at Piedmont Park Conservancy on Monroe Drive. There are 4 sessions each day lasting about 75 minutes. Your dog gets to splash around. Start times are 9:30 and 11 a.m. and then 12:30 and 2 p.m. Bring Fido out there, let him splash around a little bit. It's going to be warm enough to do so. Look at that face right there. Man. All right, we have another look at your forecast plus my final take right after the break. Stay right there. Beautiful start to the weekend. If Friday starts your weekend, it looks nice out there. We have mostly sunny skies. We'll get a few high thin clouds moving into the area later on this afternoon. Even more clouds as we head further into the weekend. You're looking at Saturday and Sunday under mostly cloudy skies. But the rain chance doesn't start until Sunday, and I think it won't be around until the latter half of the afternoon. It's a 20% chance, so a lot of us just won't get wet. So if you have plans on Sunday and you don't mind the clouds, I think you need to go ahead and keep them. 78 degrees both days, Saturday and Sunday. 77 degrees on Monday. We'll go up to a 30% chance for some isolated showers, maybe a rumble of thunder, certainly possible. Temperatures will get warmer as we head toward the middle of next week. We're going to hold on to a 20 to 30% chance for that rain each and every day. And that's really not frowned upon because we really need some rain. Folks, we're about a good 4.5 inches below where we should be for this time of year, so that rain will certainly be welcome, and we'll take it. But enjoy your weekend, folks. Try to stay safe as well. All right, time for my final take here, and questions like these come up. Are my children hitting their development milestones? What should I do if my child gets a fever? How do I handle toddler tantrums? These are some of the top questions that parents are asking ChatGPT, according to artificial intelligence tool by OpenAI. Researchers suggest that parents are increasingly relying on artificial intelligence for a wide range of parenting questions from health to education and behavior and other topics. But you should be warned. A 2004 study shows that parents can't distinguish the difference between written answers by a medical expert or ChatGPT. Now, I can't tell if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I also dig further into this, and parenting experts are warning against putting sensitive medical information online. You got to be careful, especially how you ask the questions, because AI tends to repeat that information. I know it's convenient, but for now, you may need to take the extra steps, especially when it comes to your children. AI is a great tool, complementary, all right? Don't rely on it for everything, not just yet, folks. Have a great weekend. Make sure you encourage someone today, okay?